welcome to Christian Men Unscripted. I'm John Harney here with Alan Underwood. We are currently missing Seth Lazan. Seth, he gets to take all this vacation time all the time. So he'll be back, I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
I'm sure. But you know what?
He's a busy man.
He's a busy guy, and he's
He's
dealing
got
with people
kids.
all the time, kids all
Actually,
the time.
he's got 2 kids. I think they're both playing sports. You know, they're young. You remember those days, going, driving, doing all this stuff.
It feels nonstop.
Yeah. I kind of miss it. But, yeah, when you're done with it for a while, you're like, oh, you can breathe.
Isn't that funny? You love being a part of that, but at the same time, it's expensive. It's time-consuming. But I miss like watching my daughter dance, and my son played basketball for a very short period of time. But it was so fun to go to those things. But it also was like, practice is in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And,
you remember, like my son would have practice. It'd be like 7:30 to 9:30. I'm like, I'm in bed by 9 now, man.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. But
no, dude, my daughter did those dance competitions. She was a dancer her whole life, and she was amazing.
Yep.
Dude, you do these things which you see every kid in, whether it's volleyball, everything, club sports. We didn't even mean to go on this topic.
Club
but
baseball.
Dude, all of them take so much time, so much money. In her dance stuff, she would literally, we would have to get a hotel. It would be at whatever convention or whatever. And I'm not kidding, 7 a.m. and sometimes till like 1 and 2 in the morning for these dance competitions.
Yeah.
And these are kids. And by the way, I was one of these parents. So I guess we should have gotten in trouble for abuse. You're almost abusing your kid, but the kid loves it too,
Dance
though.
moms.
You know what I mean? Dance
dads.
moms, yeah.
Well, I was the dad that lived his life through his son's baseball because I couldn't play baseball and yell at him all the time and give him batting lessons and thought he was going to be this and that. He was terrible. No, I'm just kidding. He wasn't terrible. He was good. He was pretty good, but he was never going to be like college player or anything like that. But I think it helped him. As a parent, I feel like you have to have your kids involved in something, especially nowadays. Some sports activity, some activity that gets them out moving. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's playing instruments, playing sports, doing something. Do not let them sit in that house and play on these phones and computers all the time.
Yeah.
Because my wife sees it with these kids now at school that their social skills suck. All they know how to do is be on their iPads and their computers. They don't get out. I'm like, at that age, they need to be playing T-ball. They need to be interacting with other kids. I mean, especially after COVID, you know.
Right.
It makes you realize how much you need interaction and social and sports and activities to keep you active as a kid. So I think we did the right thing.
I for sure agree. And it is weird, right? When you're out and about.
And my son's an accountant now, not a baseball player. So
which is probably
didn't work out for me, but it's good for him.
You're not going to be the father of a multi-million dollar contract baseball player, but you got a really good kid, so he
can do my taxes.
Yeah, there you go, dude. That's awesome.
Yep.
It is funny though. You see people with their little kids, and everybody's on a device. The kids are handed. I'm talking babies. I see people with their babies are handed.
It's like a babysitter.
They're handed those iPads and stuff right away.
Yeah.
Babies, dude, like little tiny things.
Yeah.
It can't be good for you.
I mean, there's good to it. I mean, there's good if you use it for good activities like brain activities. Yeah, but there's like I think a lot of parents now, and I might have been guilty of it, especially during COVID, being like, oh, she's fine up there with her iPad and her computer doing whatever she does. But you know, COVID was different. Kind of learned our lessons on that. But use it as babysitter. It's like, oh, leave me alone. Go get on your iPad and play games. You know, you go to these. It's good on airplanes though.
Yeah, they're great on airplanes.
Yeah, give it to your kid on the airplane. But you could tell that they love that. You take it away and they're like, ah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. There's such an addiction to them. And even me as an adult, I look at my phone way too much.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember. It tells me like my screen time. It'll be like your screen time is up or down or whatever all the time. And I've never compared it, you know, but
I can go from 3 hours to 8 hours. It's weird. I'm like, 8 hours? How do I get 8 hours on there? I'm like, what the
In a day?
Yeah. I had one when I was working at the airport. And 12, 13. I just watch movies on it the whole time.
Dude.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
I do a lot on my phone. I put a lot of shorts out. I do stuff for YouTube. I do a lot on it.
Yeah.
But that's too much. 8. I think you should be 2-3 hours.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's
and that's
more
with
to
checking
them, right?
your emails, looking, you know, stuff for work.
That's what I'm getting at. There's more to them than just being on social media or Instagram or Snapchat or whatever the whole time.
Yeah,
right?
I don't do a lot of social media. I do our YouTube.
Yeah.
We don't really do social media like we used to because certain aspects of going on in life. But
yeah.
Listen,
it's on that same note. I've been talking about this recently at church even because I've got a weird pet peeve talking about, you know, people do some weird stuff. And maybe I'll share a story of a friend of mine who actually lost her home because of people being terrible.
That's crazy.
I know, it's crazy. I'll
yeah, you got to share that.
Okay.
You told me that one today. That was like...
Oh,
what?
it was nuts, yeah. And it happened years ago, but I was talking to her before the podcast. That's kind of why I brought it up. But it's people, right? How people just have these weird tendencies to do God knows what and sometimes evil and horrible things. But just the simple thing on the device. Here's my thought. now that we're talking about devices, I didn't even really mean to connect them, but that must be what's happening. I go to Costco. A lot of people go to Costco or Sam's Club to get gas. When there's like a crisis, like the gas line gets shut down, and you know, I'm using the crisis with a small c. Everyone goes and gets in these huge lines at Costco or Sam's Club, but like the Shell station in the Sinclair, there's
nobody.
Pumps open.
Yep.
Like, what are you guys doing, dude? You know what I mean?
That. I remember that happened one time. Yeah. Recently, and I went across the street I'm like, nobody's over here. I paid 10 cents more, but okay.
And by the way, if you were already on a half or 3/4 tank and you got a 15-gallon tank, dude, you literally, it costs you $1.50 to not have to spend an hour in line. Like,
you didn't waste that gas anyway.
Yeah, you waste, exactly. And by the way, okay, so now, not only in the crisis, which I'm like, don't get me wrong, I go to Costco, and here's what I'll share. You want me to tell you why I go there? Besides the money, it's cheaper gas.
Cheaper gas.
But besides that, because sometimes it's not that much cheaper, I did learn that years ago, I learned from some of those fraud guys that Costco had the lowest instance of credit card theft at the pumps.
Yeah, with the, what do you call those readers?
Those readers. And that's because they have an attendant. They were the first ones to put those, basically evidence tape on those things.
Yep.
And they actually work hard to make sure that they remain fraud-free. Now, there were still instances of fraud, but they were the cleanest. If there were 100 instances, why am I saying things I can't say? If there were 100 times if somebody got their credit card stolen at a gas pump, Costco was maybe one of those times.
Oh, okay.
Whereas the place across the street got hit 99 times. Yeah, so that's why now that's been years. You know, we've been retired a while, but I remember because I had some friends that worked in that, and I went to get gas in my police truck one day, and they're pulling one of them readers off of a Chevron gas pump, you know.
Yeah,
and it was a great gas
station. That was
a
big time.
Oh, dude, and they were like, 4, 5, 6 years ago, whatever it was. And he was like, oh, bro, we're at this particular Chevron. Like, I feel so bad for the owner because we're at this Chevron, and they were trying at the time, and I'm sure they've gotten a lot better. He's like, but we're here, bro, like every other week at this one all over town. And I was like, well, where am I supposed to get gas that's safe? He's like, dude, we never are at a Costco. Like, he goes, Sam's Club even gets hit. Not as much. They're good, too. He's
they
like,
got an attendant.
But he said, but for some reason, he was like, don't ask me why, bro. And I was like, well, exactly. Probably because there's an attendant out there the whole time, you know. And they have hours. They're not 24 hours.
Yeah,
And you know what I mean?
But, you know, you could go in the middle of the night and put your reader on when they're closed.
Yeah, but I don't know why I don't know. Okay. But anyway.
Yeah, who knows? But it's good.
Okay.
Costco.
So I go to Costco gas.
Shout out Costco.
Shout out for Costco gas. But I'm waiting in line at Costco. And do you want me to tell you one of my pet peeves, and maybe we've talked about this before?
Yeah.
Is if I'm in line 7, 8, because it happened recently where I end up watching everybody as they get out of their cars. Because what else you got to do?
Yeah.
But I watch people. I'm 5 cars back. So what I do is, I'm like, I'm 5 cars back. I'm going to maybe do my Duolingo or something here in a minute. Like everybody else, I'm going to get on my phone. That's why I thought of this. We're going to get on our phone.
Get on our phone.
Okay. But you know what I do, though? The first thing I do, though, is I bust my wallet out.
Yep.
I get my Costco card,
yep,
my credit card out.
Yep.
And then I set my wallet off to the side. Now I got my Costco card and my credit card just ready to go. Because in 5 or 6 more people are going to get out of my way. I'm going to get out, and I'm going to, now to me, it's
be
a
ready
race.
To go.
It's a competition.
Yeah, it's like NASCAR.
I'm pit stopping. And I'm about to dump in some fuel.
So I can have the other guy get in and out.
Yeah, because I got people on my 6. I got to get going.
Yep.
But then I sit there and I see people. They have been waiting as long as I have. And they're on their phone, I'm sure. But I am too. I'm not trying to act like I'm not. I'll do my Duolingo or something.
What is Duolingo?
It's how you learn how to speak all kind of languages. I'm doing Spanish, French, Chinese, and Italian.
All right, let's hear some. French.
Don't
use Spanish. Everybody knows that a little bit.
French, comment allez-vous? Como ça va?
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? J'y fais, that means I'm hungry. Et tu fais, are you hungry? Okay, listen.
No, very good, okay.
But I'll be sitting at Costco. And these people in front of me, they're waiting the same 20 minutes. And then they finally get the open pump. And then they pull up to the pump. And then 5 minutes later, they get out of their car. Maybe they're on their phone talking, whatever. Then I'll see them kind of walk around, kind of like do the thing where they're patting their bodies. Like, I'm sure I got a wallet somewhere. Then they go back in their car. Then they find their wallet. Then they get out. Then they're digging through their wallet.
Yep.
And I'm literally, dude, I'm going nuts in my car at this point. Because I'm like, are you, bro, you've been in line for 15 minutes. You didn't know that this is what was going to happen next. Like, did you not know? Is this your first time pumping gas, bro? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Which we joked you didn't show your own son how to pump gas when he was younger.
Yep.
But that's usually not the case. And then you see him doing that, or you see a lady go back in the car, find her purse, get the purse out, get the wallet out. It maddens me, dude.
Yep.
Like I literally go crazy, and I'm yelling.
Yep.
You know? Have you seen that?
I've done it. I've watched them. I do the same thing. And the other part is when they're getting ready to leave, and you want that first pump so you don't have to get in. Mm-hmm. And they're like, okay, they're done, and they get in their car, and you're like, what are you doing? You've been sitting there for 3 minutes after I know you're done. You close your door.
Yeah.
Put the car in drive and go.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, they're piddling around. Like, and then the people are honking at me but I want the first spot.
Dude. Yeah, but the other thing is, so then maybe you're the guy that I also get mad at because they got the little green and red lights on the top to tell you what pump is open.
Yeah.
Then
I'll go. If it's green, I'll go, but I get mad because I didn't get the one I wanted because they were done before the guy ahead.
Okay, yeah. So it's reasonable to wait because they should be leaving. But when the front one is open, but then the car in front of you doesn't go, but there's 50 cars and everybody knows there's a center lane, you can just drive around and get to the front one, go for it.
Yep.
And then people don't do that.
Oh, yeah, I'll go. I'll just be like, man, I could have had this easy one.
Costco gas pumps, dude. I'm telling you.
Yeah, Costco is just crazy.
Trials and tribulations at Costco.
Have you ever been to the Costco in any part of Las Vegas, Nevada that is not busy? I've gone when they open. I've gone in the middle of the day. It's just a madhouse. It's crazy.
I wonder. I mean, and everybody's spending $300 a pop because that's what it cost me me and my wife to go there.
We go to Sam's Club more now because it's less busy, and we have the whatever card where we can go an hour early.
Oh,
which is
the
great.
Fancy membership.
Yeah. So we go to Sam's Club, and we can't get out of there under $400. Man, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we get home, and you don't even get any good stuff, man. We got toilet paper and paper towels and some meat a little bit, but basic stuff. Eggs are hard to find now, apparently. Yeah. My last week, we talked about the Super Bowl. It was funny. We were talking about this egg thing. We were watching the Super Bowl a couple weeks ago, and these neighbor girls came over. The ones that ding dong ditched me, by the way.
Yeah.
They're cute. That's funny. I got a funny story about that too. But they knocked on the door like, "Do you have one egg?" I'm like, "That's $10. Yeah. I cannot just give one egg away."
Yeah.
But no, they were making brownies, so I gave them an egg. But we happened to get them at Sam's Club, and we didn't get the good ones. We got the white ones. I don't like the white ones. I like the brown ones that are organic and,
Okay, I don't know.
But eggs are at a premium now.
The eggs are at a premium.
But anyway, the little girls, the two little ones, they're twins. I think they're 5, maybe. And I was cleaning my backyard, and they stand up on the wall and talk to me while I was cleaning. They're like, "Do you know why we ding dong ditched you?" I go, "No, why?" She goes, "'Cause it's funny." I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, it's funny." And it was funny. This is the way they said it was funny. I'm like, "Okay, thanks for ding dong ditching."
That's so funny.
With my doorbell camera.
Yeah, Ring camera. You can't get away with that stuff, dude.
Anyway, that was funny. I just remembered that. But that's why another people thing.
Yeah.
Kids, but those kids are out doing stuff. They're not on their phones. So I was like, yeah, ding dong ditch all you want.
All day.
I don't need to answer it because I could just look on the Ring camera and be like, oh, nope, just neighbor kids.
Yeah, exactly. They're hiding in the bushes, giggling.
They were giggling. They go, "We hid behind your garbage cans." I'm like, yeah, I didn't come out because I saw.
So funny, dude. Yeah, that's really good, dude.
You got to tell the story about the squatters.
Okay, listen.
Because I find it fascinating that this person was able to do that, and I feel like maybe we could do this and get a free house.
I did not know you could get free houses, right? I guess I'm that naive that I didn't know you can have a free house. Yep. I mean, people watch the news on it, so I do. So the background is this, for anyone listening here, is that so right before the podcast, right before we recorded, I ended up on the phone with a friend who I've known for many, many years. It was one of my grandfather's friends. She's 92, wonderful lady. So I'm on the phone with her just kind of catching up, and she's super sharp. She was always involved in government and union negotiations, and just this lady's background is just really awesome. She's an old school kind of who's who from old Las Vegas, right? And in Phoenix in the 1950s. I love her stories. So we're talking, and I totally forgot about 10 years ago at least. My kids were pretty young. She's got a property in San Diego. She's got a property in Las Vegas. And about 10 or so years ago, I was still a cop, and I remember her calling and asking me all these questions because she was like, "John, I have a house in San Diego area, a really nice house, and but there was a marijuana grow, and I'm fighting over this house." So I don't want to make the long story longer, but in summary, let me just share what happened. It's nuts, and I told you about it because I hung up with her right before we recorded. So she has this house. She has a house in Vegas, like I said. She has a condo in Oceanside, and she had this house down in San Diego, I think near Miramar, maybe for military stuff or whatever. Mm-hmm. And she had it forever. I mean, it's not. She does very well, but mostly it's because she's owned stuff since like the 50s and the 60s, right? Yeah. And so her doctor, who was a friend of hers, was going through something.
A doctor.
Yeah, a literal doctor. It was like her general practicing doctor in Southern California. I ought to freaking get his name, dude, and start putting it out there. I mean, what a jerk. So he was going through whatever he was going through, and to summarize the story, he asked her, "Hey, you have 3 houses. You got one in Vegas, you got the condo up in Oceanside. Can I stay in your house here for a little while because he was going through whatever. I think, and out of the goodness of her heart, it's her doctor. And so she was like, I figure he's my doctor. It's fine. Yeah. I didn't even charge him rent. I said, yeah, of course, stay there. But then he started staying there for longer and longer. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I don't know how long. It must have turned into years because of how squatters' rights work. But so he ended up, I'll cover the taxes for you or whatever. This guy was scamming the whole time. And then what happens is she actually asked him, hey, could you move out? Oh, I can't, quite yet. And she's like, okay, she's so kind. And she had a couple other places, and she knows she's blessed. So she never, from what I can tell, got real serious about kicking him out until she found out that he had a marijuana grow in the house. So here he's a doctor. Now, and this is when marijuana is illegal. I know nowadays people are like, who cares? Back then, 10, 15 years ago, whatever it was, 11 years ago, I think, he had a marijuana grow. So the cops raid the house. She gets a call because she's involved. Now she gets drug into court because her house has a marijuana grow. And it was like a big one, I guess. Yeah. And she's like, hey, okay, he needs to get out. So now he gets arrested, but he doesn't really face the charges. You know how that goes. He was probably out that night.
Right.
So now he's dealing with this. She now gets an attorney involved and says, hey, I need him out of my house. He's ruined the house. I guess it's like they're like, no, there's, mold and all this other stuff. Long story short, this multiple years of a battle of trying to get him out of the house. And he literally wins the house by adverse possession. And it's like $1 million home.
That's crazy.
And he takes it from an old lady who he was the doctor of. And she lost her house to an adverse possession squatter right case. And I'll never forget, you see that on the news, but that, like I said, it just reminded me when I hung up and I told you, I was on the phone with my friend Jan. You've heard of her before. I said, she's the one who lost that house to that doctor. How sad.
It cost her too much to fight it.
Yeah, she was in it like $100,000 in the first 6 months or whatever, paying an attorney, trying to fight it, and then they wanted even more money, and basically told her this is probably never going to win anyways, and so she just basically lost her home.
And I mean, this podcast is about how people suck, but it's weird as I look at. We were talking about this. I was talking to my wife, I think, and people are this and that, but there's a lot of good people out there. I mean, I deal with a lot of good people. Mm-hmm. I talk to a lot of good people, but you just see the worst in people nowadays. It seems like it's more prevalent now. I don't know. And that was older. That's not recent, but that's how people are now. I mean, I think as law enforcement, we noticed that more too because we saw the worst in people and we saw how. There's things that I couldn't fathom human beings doing to other human beings that I saw on the job. And I'm like, this is crazy to me, And a lot of people don't realize that unless you're in law enforcement, EMT, paramedics, doctors, I guess you would see that. But if you're just living your life as an accountant, say my son, even though he's seen some stuff.
We can't.
Or as a school teacher, my wife's a school teacher. You kind of see bad kids, bad this, bad that, but you don't see the worst of society.
Right.
And when you see the worst of society, it's hard to fathom that people do that to each other.
Yeah.
Like when you see how people stab. I saw a lady, husband stab his wife. I didn't see him stab her, but I saw the aftermath. I'm like, man, I don't even know what kind of rage would set you into a point where you could stab your wife, no matter what she did.
Yeah.
Cheating, gambling all your money, whatever. I don't even remember the circumstances. 36 times.
Yeah.
And just look at her dead there. I'm like, that.
Right.
Or when I've seen people who killed their babies because they were so high on methamphetamine and the baby wouldn't be quiet. And I'm just like, what in the world?
Absolutely.
And you see that and you're like, this is crazy. But there's, I think that's why I love dealing with or just being involved in community, like we said last podcast, because you see the good in people. You see there's a lot of good people, but the news doesn't show that.
No.
The news, the social media won't show that. They show all the bad, all the evil.
That's what sells.
And there's more good than bad, I think. So I don't know, but we won't see that,
Yeah.
I don't know where I got off on that one.
Well, because we're talking about people, and what we're talking about, because I've got so many memories, obviously, of working homicide. Maybe I should share some of those stories sometime, but, I can think of one where the mom and dad got in a fight, the mom left, and the dad literally grabbed a rifle in the house and shot and killed his teenage son, chased his other teenage son up the stairs. The daughter was upstairs, shot and killed. I hate to say all these things. Shot and killed the other son, and the daughter made it out of the window. 2-story house. Neighbors heard all the commotion. These are tough things to deal with, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a dad who's enraged, so mad at the mom that he kills their children. They were his.
Yeah.
They weren't. He wasn't stepdad. And these are teenagers. These are not little kids. And the interview, you want to talk about hearing horrible, how terrifying and terrible, but.
Yep.
I kind of share some of this sometimes from the pulpit. What I would remind people is, you say, I disagree when people say, "Oh, everyone is basically good." No, it's actually the opposite. Everyone is basically sinful.
Yeah, I think that too.
Because we have a sin nature in us, and there's a war within us.
I mean,
Romans chapter 7 of the Bible, that's Paul talking about that, the war within us.
Yeah, I mean, the thoughts that go through my mind sometimes, I'm like, well, that's terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel bad for even saying it on this podcast. My brain goes to certain dark spots, man.
Yeah.
You know?
It's sad, but, in Genesis 3 is where we see sin enters humanity. People are capable of terrible things. It's super sad. But that's it. That's funny that we kind of brought this to this because people generally suck, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. However, we need to say, if I think people suck, then I need to take a page out of Michael Jackson's song and look at the man in the mirror and say, you know what? I need to actually respond better even to the sucky people and to try to show kindness and goodness and love and give it up to God and confess anything I do have between me and God, and then spend time maybe prayerfully in the Bible, maybe read the story, not just do the study in a Bible, and so you can kind of learn about these people so that we can be better. Because it really does start with one. Anytime you have a community get better, there has to be a catalyst where someone in the community wants it to be better.
Yeah.
Even, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And so the end racism, we joked about that last podcast on the Super Bowl. I think that comes down to that people are capable of some terrible things.
Yes.
And the best way to confront that is to you yourself recognize that you yourself have a sin nature within you. You yourself are capable of also being a jerk and being the problem. Knowing that, now you say, what's the solution? I need to confess that. I need to get with God and say, okay, God, but help me to be better. Psalm 51, if you get in your Bible, by the way, is David. He had committed adultery and murder, and he wrote this psalm. Psalm 51 is one of my very favorites, where he confesses his sin to God. Psalm 51:3, God, I acknowledge, I confess. But then he also says, but I have this broken heart. And then he says, Lord, create in me a pure heart and give me the steadfast spirit to actually serve you. And that's in Psalm 51. I can't remember what verse. But it's something I've been thinking about myself. Because we're all pretty evil by nature because we have this within us. And so the prayer isn't just, God, I want to confess. It's also, God, create in me. Let me spend time with you and create in me a pure heart. And then how do you do that? You get to know who God is and you read those stories in the Bible, and you're actually, even just a few minutes a day, it kind of starts to cleanse that Romans 12:2, renew our minds by just reading the greatness and the goodness of God, and then we try to give that to people. Yep. I think that's the only catalyst for change, really. That's real change.
Yeah, yeah. I've kind of been going through that a lot in my head lately, like, because we've gone through some stuff in our family with bad, evil people, and, we've talked about it on prior podcasts, like forgiveness and this and that, and I'm coming to a point where I'm much happier, I guess. I would say I've kind of let it go. It might come back if something else changes in the world, in our world, not the world, our family's world. Yeah. But like I'm dealing with things better. I'm in my Bible more. I'm just not like, I think there, as a Christian, you go through ups and downs, I would say, especially me. I'm not like I'm not going to say, because you're human. I mean, people think pastors are perfect, and I know, I've known you. You're definitely not.
True.
I'm just kidding. But, I go through these phases, man, where it's like, I don't want to read my Bible. I don't want to tithe. I think this is all, I still love you, Lord. I still don't, but I don't need this. But when I do that, I go into these dark places, man, where I could get off on these thoughts. Like, where, why can't I look at porn? Why can't I do this? Why can't I curse? Why can't I drink? But then if I fall back into these sins, I feel so horrible. Yeah. Like, and I've been doing really well with, it wasn't a New Year's resolution or anything. It was just like, you got to refocus, man. And this was before New Year's. And I've been doing so well when it comes to just living my life the way I feel that God wants me to. Yeah. I feel so much better, even though my back hurts. I got a lot of back pain, sciatic pain, but I just feel so much better about my family, about my wife, about my kids. I'm just happier, and it's not about the thoughts that are in my head. It's about just doing the right thing and doing the right thing. And I even like talking to people. I'm so much better about happier. I felt like I was in a pretty dark spot for a while there, as far as like church goes, as far as people at church. I even talked about it on the podcast, like, these guys at church, they're just hypocrites and that. Now I see people in a different light. Yeah. I feel like, I'm like, okay, I know what they mean. I mean, I get it. We all are got that look at me type thing. You can say you don't, but we all do. But I don't know. I just feel like when you're in tune with your Bible, with that relationship, and not just checking off a box, you feel so much better about life. And I feel like that's where I'm at now. So
I love it, dude. That's funny. That's we probably should come to a close here in a minute, but it still is a struggle. You said a lot in that, but I also think the same way where I say, like, even in church, there are people who I'm like, gosh, this person, they're so like curt and rude, and they never apologize. I'm being honest. Like I see people in church that I'm like, hey, I'll apologize if I'm off base, but I'm be honest with you. How you should probably, I don't say that, maybe I should.
I tell my wife that a lot, and she doesn't.
No. So, but you know what I mean. But then I have to say, well, but there's that example. It's in Samuel where the story of like King David and stuff, where it's like the people wanted the king that looked like the king, and there's I think it's like 1 Samuel maybe 16 something like that, whatever. But it's where it says like God sees the heart. As humans, we see like what we see, and we want to be seen as we want to be seen.
Right.
But the reality is, I say, Lord, help me. There's a Christian song that says that, like, help me to see people as you see them, that I could be your hands and feet, but help me to see people as you see them. That's something I'm trying to work on.
Yeah. Me too. 100%.
So, by the way, the people I hate at Costco that don't have their stuff ready, God loves
strong
them.
word.
yeah, but God loves them.
You get upset with them.
God loves them, and He wants them to know that He loves them. He wants them to come to repentance, come to believe in Jesus, to be in eternity with Him. He's not willing that any should perish.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at him, and I'm like, you're an idiot.
Get your card out,
Get your
man.
dang card out, dude. You know what I'm saying, though?
Yeah.
The guy
it's the world we live in now, right? We're all the same. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should hear me driving. Oof. Anyway.
Same.
I'm better, though.
Okay, well, we're choking to death. Hey, listen, be blessed, man. I think we're going to wrap it up. You got anything else?
No, I'm just choking on my saliva, apparently. All right.
See, have a go. I do that too now all the time, dude. Like, what's happening?
Eric